I love travel. I have had the most incredible experiences through it. The reason I love traveling is much more about the stories that I hear, the experiences I have, and I think also what I learn, because I've still got lots of questions myself. The journeys I've been on have taught me a lot about us and our world in some small way. What's been brilliant about a lot of the things, the journeys I've been on, brilliant for me anyway, is that they've all had a sort of sense of purpose about them, a destination, a sense of meaning to them. So whether I've been following a line or whether I've been following a river, you have a point where you start, where you sort of gird up, right, we're off now, and then you get somewhere eventually, you reach an end, and that's often can be a little bit lacking from the journeys and holidays that people choose nowadays. We think of the Indian Ocean and we think of the Maldives, you think of the beaches. We were in the water in the Maldives. I'm sure you're familiar with them. I think, exactly, just around the corner. At just the right moment, as about a dozen manta rays came, they were really flying through the water. It stacked in perfect formation towards us. And it was an absolutely remember for the rest of your life moment. I had perhaps the most special encounter with wildlife that I've experienced with manatees in Florida, actually. I don't know if anybody else here has done it, but it's not that far from the parks. And you can go out on Crystal Spring River and you get in the water as the sun's rising, and wild manatees come up to you and nuzzle up to you. Manatees, they're like a cross between a cow and a hippo. They're the only mammals apparently that exhibit no violent tendencies. They're interested in humans, it seems. They're not as bright, we don't think, as dolphins, but they are really special, enormous creatures. I took away from it this a slightly different realization that you don't always have to go, to the back of beyond to find something special and spectacular. It can be just around that corner over there. You just need to maybe reframe what you're looking for. The other one, they're orangutans. I've had several quite special experiences for me anyway with them in Borneo. So at the orangutan sanctuaries there, they let me feed the little baby orangutan. It was an incredibly cute little thing, and take it out on a climbing lesson where it went up into the trees, and it was, it was heart-melting stuff. I'd go for complete contrast. So I'd probably go for the Maldives, because that's the most archetypally beautiful place in many ways. I mean, that's the vision I think that we've all been given. I'd go in the complete other extreme. Bangladesh is actually a country I'm very fond of. I love Bangladesh. I love Bangladeshis. It's an amazing place. It's poor. It's desperately poor. It's packed. It's hammered by the climate and weather systems on both sides. They're amazing people, but that's two. I'd probably go for Botswana. In Botswana, actually, I mean, you've got incredible wildlife there. If you're interested in big, spectacular wildlife, really, the one continent to go to is Africa. So it's a series called Sacred Rivers, and it's 3 programs, 3 journeys, traveling down the Nile, or up the Nile I should say, along the Ganges and along the Yangtze River. And it was a different way of exploring and perhaps understanding more about these countries. All of the rivers are worshipped or have been worshipped by the people who live about them. It's not surprising really, they bring life to hundreds of millions of people, so it's hardly surprising people bow down before them. But they showed me completely different sides of each country. The Nile, goodness me, following that through Sudan. Did you know there are more pyramids in northern Sudan than there are in Egypt? They're not as big as the Great Pyramids of Egypt, but they are very numerous and they are readily accessible. And we were able to climb up. I was able to climb up a pyramid to the great king Tahaka and survey the land around. It was just quite a special moment where travel had taken me somewhere very, very, very exotic for me, having grown up in Acton in West London, and followed the Yangtze across China, which in some ways for me was the real revelation. So we had a chance to explore that a bit, to visit areas, for example, where they've got thousands of ancient rock carvings, to learn about the aspect of Chinese belief, which is actually quite a lot about environmental harmony, and which is a resurgent belief system in China now. We, following the tropic of cancer around the world, we went into a very remote part of Western Burma. Burma's changed since I was there a lot, but we were in an area where the Chin people live. And when we got there, they were all, in some cases, falling at our feet and saying, thank you for coming. And they saw us as emissaries of the world who were going to take their situation and their story back. And it was a really profound, meaningful moment and experience for me. It reminded me, and still really does, of the enormous responsibility that we have to try and tell people's stories as accurately as we can. And we do really, I think, have these quite simple, obvious views of Australia, really. I personally grew up on a diet of Kylie and neighbours, and it is much more layered and interesting and complicated than we frankly give it credit for. Really, it's much bigger than we as Europeans we don't have geographic references for it, really. There's the distance, the train we went on, it was going the distance from London to Moscow. It's huge. And there is immense variety of ecosystem within that country, as well as variety of people as well, of course. The need now, actually, of us going to those places. I used to have more of a view of travel as having a lot of negative aspects to it. That, okay, it's great for us, but it's not entirely magnificent for the planet, is it? But tourism can help. It can provide remote communities with income, with an economy, with food on the table. It pays for the vehicles that the rangers use to watch for poachers who are after elephant tusks at the most obscene rate at the moment. And these places, like the great parks in Africa, they are rapidly becoming wildlife arks, I think. And I can't stress enough how important and significant this is for the future of biodiversity on our planet. If you talk to the guides there, I found it astonishing how often they will say quite openly, oh yeah, we used to be fishermen. We used to dynamite fish over there, piece of dynamite, chuck it in, chung, fish float up, scoop it. That's what we used to do over there. Now we protect it because we've got an income. We don't need to fish illegally. We don't need to go poaching animals for their tusks because we're protecting them, and we would rather do it. And so it works beautifully and brilliantly. You do get so much more when you've got a local, an expert, somebody knowledgeable who's not just telling you things, but translating not just language as well, but their environment, their world. And I would say that in terms of the memorable experiences I've had on the journeys I've been on, they probably start with the incredible people that I've met, and then wildlife I've encountered, and then landscapes and things like that. But primarily it's people for me. I love it when you get those fairly, completely unscripted, just spontaneous meeting with somebody who tells you stuff, or you connect with across barriers, across language frontiers, etc. I don't speak any other foreign languages, I'm embarrassed to say, but there is so much you can do with non-verbal language, and just by sharing things, by your body language, etc. That's what I trade on anyway. From the first journeys I did, one of the things that's most consistently surprised me is how welcoming the world is.